She washed in silence, dressed in her mother's old wrapper, took only a calabash of water and the feather. As she stepped outside, her grandmother was waiting. "You are ready," the old woman said. "I must go alone," Nwadiuto replied. Her grandmother nodded. "But know this, when you reach the hollow tree, you will not just face Adugo, you will face the part of yourself you buried with your mother." "I understand," as she began to walk alone. At the edge of the deepest part of the forest stood the hollow tree, black, old, breathing. And there, beneath its shadow, stood Adugo. She was no longer as beautiful as Nwadiuto remembered. Her skin was ashen, her eyes sunken, but her presence immersed. She was surrounded by wind, by silence, by spirit unseen. "So," Adugo said, voice like cracked wood, "you came, like your mother did, like I knew you would." "Why?" Nwadiuto asked. "Why her? Why all of this?" Adugo sneered. "Because you took him from me, your father, the only man I ever loved." Nwadiuto stepped forward. "You poisoned everything." Adugo's eyes flashed, her voice trembling with hate and pride. "Yes, I cursed her," she spat. "Your mother Akweke. The gods saw her take what should have been mine, and I swore her womb would never know peace. I cursed her bloodline, and you, little girl, are the fruit of that curse. I waited years, buried my daughter, buried my name, all so I could return, and now you want to take him too?" "I want to free the prince," Nwadiuto said, "and I want peace." Nwadiuto held up the feather, then let the blood be truth. The wind stopped. Adugo screamed, lunging forward, but before she could reach Nwadiuto, the hollow tree burst open, roots shot up, binding them both. And from the earth, the spirit from the shrine emerged. "Truth has come," she said. She looked at Adugo. "You have broken your pact. You offered blood not yours to give." Adugo thrashed against the root. "No, I did what I had to. He was mine." The spirit did not blink. "And now you return to what you came from." The root tightened. The hollow tree split wider with a moan like thunder. With one final shriek, Adugo was dragged down into the earth, swallowed by the tree she once fed with hate. Silence fell. The spirit turned to Nwadiuto. "You hold the memory, the sacrifice, the love. Choose." Nwadiuto closed her eyes. "I choose my father." "Are you sure?" the spirit asked. "Because after this there is no going back. Any man tied with your destiny will have the same fate as the prince." A tear fell from her eyes as she nodded. "Then so be it." Back in the forest, Obieze felt it. The curse lifted like smoke from his skin. His form shifted. The shadow melted. He looked to the sky and whispered, "Nwadiuto." In Mambila, as the wind died and the trees stilled, a man clutched his chest and fell to his knees. Amadi's eyes full of tears whispered, "My daughter," and then the world went quiet. The winds in Mambila were still. For the first time in weeks, the forest did not whisper. The animal no longer crept in fear. The hollow tree stood silent, its judgment complete. But where peace touched the earth, grief still clung to the heart of the living. When she arrived home, the villagers were already gathered. Her grandmother met her at the entrance, eyes red, lips trembling. He knew. Her grandmother said simply, "Before it happened, he said your name." Her grandmother's voice hung in the air like ash. The words didn't feel real. Nwadiuto's nails buckled. Her fingers clawed at the red earth. Her mouth opened, but no sound came. Just the slow, choked breath of a world collapsing. The man who had held her when she cried, Who taught her how to grind melon with her tiny hands? Who danced in the rain and called her more than 10 sons? Who once said, "If I had 100 lives, I would spend them all watching you"? She stood suddenly, breathlessly, and ran. She didn't tell her grandmother. She didn't wait for tears. She ran like fire through dry grass, feet bare, heart splintering with every step. Through the bush, through the trees, to the only place that could answer her scream, the hollow tree. It loomed ahead, silent and dark, as if it had been waiting. She fell to her knees before it, fist pounding the soil. "You lied to me," she screamed. "I chose him. I chose my father." The bark groaned. The roots shivered. "I gave you what you asked. I gave up my love. I gave up the prince. I did what you asked, and still you took him away from me." Her voice cracked, a cry too deep for words. "He was all I had. He was my all. He was my mother's smile. He was my reason. Why did you take him? Why?" The tree stood unmoved, but the wind around it curled like breath. Then a voice, low, rooted in earth, older than time, rose from the ground itself. "He was already walking the edge of time, child. When you chose him, you gave him a noble death, not a stolen one. He left the world with your name on his lips, not fear, not pain, but love." She shook her head, sobbing, curling into the root. A hush fell. The leaves overhead stilled. A breeze swept across her face, soft, warm, like a hand she knew. She closed her eyes and whispered into the root, "Tell him I will choose him again." Then she rose, slowly, her body trembling. She didn't look back, and the hollow tree, for the first time since Adugo's end, was silent again. That night, she sat beside his still body, tracing the lines on his palm, whispering the lullabies he used to hum while roasting yam. She did not cry aloud. She mourned like the river, quiet, deep, and unending. At dawn, just as the first fowl crowed, a shadow crossed the edge of the compound, tall, regal, no longer beast, Obieze. He wore a deep blue regalia and gold-threaded tunic. His scar remained, but his form was fully human, handsome, powerful, yet humble. His presence silenced the crowd. He walked directly to where Nwadiuto sat, knelt down slowly and bowed his head. "I owe him everything," Obieze said. Nwadiuto looked up, her eyes rimmed with sleepless sorrow. "You are free," she whispered. "I am," he replied, "because of you." They sat in silence together, two hearts both broken and mended by choice, sacrifice, and faith. In the weeks that followed, Obieze remained in Mambila, not as a prince, not as a savior, but as a man of mourning and healing. He helped repair the broken yam barns. He fetched firewood with the young men. He even knelt beside Nwadiuto as she washed her father's belongings to give to the poor. They did not speak of love, not yet. They spoke of memories, of trees that remembered laughter, of shadows that whispered sorrows, of dreams that returned night after night. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the village square turned golden, Obieze found Nwadiuto behind her hut, braiding her hair by herself. "May I?" he asked. She looked at him, brow raised. "You know how to plait?" He smiled faintly. "A queen once taught me when I was young. My mother," he added. She handed him the comb cautiously. He sat behind her, his fingers unsure at first, but warm and gentle. Their silence wasn't awkward. It was intimate. Her breathing slowed. His fingers walked carefully, tracing the path, smoothing the strands. "You carry so much," he said finally. "Does it ever feel too heavy?" "Sometimes," she whispered, "but the weight feels lighter when you are near," she said, the last part almost to herself, but he heard her. He stopped breathing for a moment. She turned slightly to look at him. Their faces were close now. Obieze leaned forward slowly and respectfully. She didn't move away. His lips brushed hers, soft, gentle, like two rivers meeting, then deep, with a hunger both of them had kept hidden beneath layers of grief and duty. When they parted, her eyes remained closed while he stared at her beautiful face. I have never kissed anyone before, she admitted softly. Obieze touched her cheek. Then I will never forget it. In a dimly lit hut, Ola sat. She had not spoken since her mother's death. Her hair grew wild, her food untouched, her eyes haunted. One morning, she emerged from her hut, carrying a calabash of charcoal and white chalk. I want to speak, she said, voice shaking. The others had gathered. Obieze stood beside Nwadiuto, holding her hand. Ola knelt. I was there the day Akweke died. Gasp rippled through the crowd. I followed her, she said. She gave me roasted corn that morning. I was angry, jealous, because that was what my mother had instilled into me. I threw stones at her, at the tree. I didn't mean for it to fall. She sobbed. I ran and told no one. I let her daughter suffer. I let my mother lie lead me. I was consumed by her hate and jealous for Akweke and her daughter. The oldest elder stepped forward, his staff heavy with cowries. Redemption lives in confession, he said, but the truth has a cost. He turned to Nwadiuto. You, the wronged one, what do you say? Nwadiuto walked forward, towards Ola. I will not let hate consume me, she said, but you must earn your place again, not with words, with actions. Ola bowed her head, tears falling freely. Obieze watched in silence, pride swelling in his chest, not just for her mercy, but her strength. Until that night, Nwadiuto sat on the stone step of her father's hut. Obieze joined her, draped in a patterned cloth. They said little. The moon hung low. He took her hand. You freed me, he said again. She smiled softly. You gave me something I never knew I needed. Choice. Obieze turned to her. Will you come to Eri with me as my queen? She looked at the house, to her father's grave, to the stillness around her. Not yet, she said. He nodded. Then I'll wait. Then, without warning, she pulled him into her arms. The kiss this time wasn't gentle. It was deep, hungry, real. Hands tangled in fabric, fingers trailing across bare skin. They lay beneath the sky, the earth warm from the day's heat, and let the stars witness what words could not say. Not lost, not escape, love, slowly built. The morning after their night beneath the stars, the world had not changed. The wind still ran through the trees. The sun still rose in golden silence, but Nwadiuto had changed. Not because of Obieze's kiss, not even because of her father's death. She had tasted the weight of love and the quiet cost of sacrifice. Obieze had returned to his kingdom briefly to announce his return and prepare the land for Nwadiuto's arrival. Word had spread like wildfire. He sent a rider to invite Nwadiuto, but she delayed. For days, she moved to the compound like she was seeking something. She sat in her mother's old kitchen, swept out unused corners, harvested cassava with women who had raised her. When her grandmother asked, "Why haven't you left?" she replied, "Because I'm not sure what I would be going to." Eventually, she agreed to travel, just for a visit. Obieze sent escort, two royal guards, a palanquin she refused to sit in, and gifts wrapped in animal skin. Nwadiuto walked the path, eyes wide at the vastness of the land beyond her village. Eri was unlike anything she had known. Stone towers, gold masks, women in silk wrappers who danced without touching the ground. There were markets where spices filled the air and musicians played instruments shaped like birds. But something was off. It was too polished, too rehearsed, too far from the red earth she knew. And though the people bowed to her, they also whispered, "She's the bush girl, isn't she? She tamed the beast. With what charms, I wonder? He's marrying a helper, a village spirit." Nwadiuto smiled politely, but inside, something twisted. On the third night, a great feast was thrown. Obieze sat on his father's stool, his crown still to be reclaimed, but his presence already demanding. Beside him, Nwadiuto sat in a richly adorned wrapper that didn't feel like hers. Dancers twirled, drums beat, and then Obieze stood. "She's the reason I still breathe," he said, his voice proud, "and I will make her queen." The hall erupted in applause, but Nwadiuto's heart thudded. Not with pride, but panic. Queen? She turned to look at him, his beautiful, hopeful eyes fixed on her, and she realized this was not her dream. During their time together in Mambila, she realized she loved Obieze, but what she was not sure of is if she was ready for this path. Later, in the quiet of the royal guest room, Obieze joined her by the window. "You were quiet tonight," he said gently. "I needed to be." He nodded. "You don't have to answer yet. I know Eri is overwhelming." "It's not just Eri." She turned to him. "You know I love you. That night under the stars, I didn't say it, but it was true." He stepped closer, touched her cheek. "Then what's stopping you?" he asked. She hesitated. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "I don't want to be queen." Obieze's hand froze. "I don't want courts or crowns or people measuring my worth in gold bangles and land size. I want to wake up and know I can fetch water without a maid. I can climb to the mango tree without someone covering their eyes in shame. I want my life, not a throne." Silence stretched between them. His jaw tightened, but then he nodded. "I didn't expect this, but I understand." The next morning, she packed her things, not because she was running away, but because she was walking towards herself. Obieze walked her to the gates himself. "I will not chain you here," he said, "even if it means I stand alone in my court." "You are not alone," she said. "You never will be. You always have my heart, but hearts and homes are not always the same." They embraced, long, tight, and breathless. Another kiss, not hurried, not passionate, final. And then she turned and walked towards the road back to Mambila. When she returned, the compound welcomed her with soft joy. Ola, now humble and quiet, hugged her without words. The neighbors brought yams, oil, laughter. The breeze danced again. And Nwadiuto, she fetched her own water, but she didn't feel fulfilled. She was no priestess, no queen, no goddess reborn, just a girl who had once loved the beast and had the courage to say no to the palace. The days in Mambila grew long. The sun heat softened, but Nwadiuto's heart burned hotter than ever. It had been months since she left Eri behind, months since she laid in his arms under the moonlight, tasted his breath, felt the weight of his body curl around her, and yet not a night passed that she did not wake with his name caught between her lips like a trapped bird. She tried to distract herself, walking in the fields, sitting with the elders, but even the wind that once brought peace now whispered his voice. His words haunted her, soft, sure, and painfully loving. She had walked away for herself, but now her whole self yearned for only him. One evening, she could no longer fight it. She wrapped only what she needed, told her grandmother she was going, and started the journey on foot, heart pounding with every step. What if he had moved on? What if he had found someone else to warm his bed, wear his colors, share his throne? What if he no longer loves me? Her fingers trembled at the thought, yet her feet refused to stop. By the time she reached the palace gate, the guards recognized her instantly. They bowed, but she did not wait for formalities. She ran. Her legs moved faster than her doubt. Through the courtyard, and there, standing tall in the sunlight, wrapped in indigo, regal as ever, Obieze. She stopped, her breath caught. He turned as though sensing her presence before seeing her. Their eyes met. Everything froze, and then she ran into his arms. She crashed into his chest, breathless and tearful, burying her face into the curve of his neck. "I'm sorry," she choked, trembling. "I left. I shouldn't have. I couldn't sleep well. I couldn't eat well. I missed you. I need you, Obieze. And I love you so much." His arms wrapped around her instantly, crushing her to him, hands sliding over her back like he was making sure she was real. He held her tight, like the storm had returned his most precious thing. His voice cracked. "I thought I'd imagine you back into existence," he whispered. His lips pressed into her hair. "But you are here. You are really here." Their lips met, hungry, desperate, the kind of kiss that grows wild and fierce before softening into a thousand whispered apologies. She clung to his shoulders, and he let his hand roam, relearning the curve of her waist, the line of her jaw, the softness that had haunted his dreams. Later, as she rested in his courtyard, laughing between kisses, a sound broke through their moment. A young woman, tall, radiant, dressed in golden silk, emerged from the palace hall and ran straight to Obieze. She flung her arms around him in a warm, effortless hug. "Obieze," she exclaimed, but that single word never reached Nwadiuto's ear. Only the embrace, only the ease, only the beauty of the woman, everything Nwadiuto feared. Something inside her shattered. "He has replaced me," she whispered. "But why did he show me affection when he saw me?" she asked herself. She rose slowly, stepped back, her eyes burning. Obieze turned in surprise. "Nwadiuto?" But she was already running. Heart breaking, stomach twisting, eyes blurred with tears. She didn't wait for an explanation. She just knew she had lost. Obieze stared after her, stunned. The young woman was confused and reached for his arm. Did I say something wrong? But he didn't answer. Instead, he ran after her. Through the palace grounds, past nobles and servants, past judgmental eyes. He ran not as a prince, not as a king, but as a man chasing his heart. He found her outside the gate, crumpled on the ground, gasping through tears. "Nwadiuto," she turned, face streaked with emotion. "You don't owe me anything, Obieze. You don't belong to me. I shouldn't have come." He dropped to his knees before her, reaching for her hand. "Why did you run?" Her lips trembled. "I saw her. The girl. She was so beautiful. She ran into your arms like she belonged there. And I thought you moved on." Obieze exhaled, eyes darkening with disbelief. He cupped her face gently, but firmly. "Not a day goes by that I don't think about bundling you into my arms and locking the palace gates behind us." His forehead touched hers. "But I didn't. I didn't come to take you because I love you enough to let you choose." She sobbed into his shoulders. He held her tighter. "I wanted to chase after you the day you left, but I waited because love is not caging. It is not forcing. It is not commanding." His voice dropped low, deliberate, heavy with desire and devotion. "You think I could love another woman? There is not a single part of me, heart, body, soul, that doesn't ache for you." His hands moved to her waist, pulling her close again. "When I sleep, I imagine your breath on my neck. When I walk, I see you in every shadow. You are not a memory to me, Nwadiuto. You are my everything." She gasped at his words, her hands fisting into his robe. Later that night, under the thick linen sheets and flickering oil lamps, they moved together as if time had never separated them. He took his time with her, like she was a scripture to be read line by line. She whispered his name into his mouth. He kissed everywhere of her cheek. Their fingers tangled. Their breath became one. It was love, yes, but also need. A hunger that had waited too long. She woke in his arms, curled against his chest, feeling the beat of his heartbeat. And for the first time in months, she did not long for anything. She was home. Before Nwadiuto's return, before passion reclaimed her place in Obieze's arms, there was Anulika, the daughter of a nobleman, and a name that once echoed through the palace corridors like promise. She had grown up beside the prince, chased butterflies with him, laughed as he stumbled through sword lessons, watched him become a man. And though years had distanced them, her heart never moved on. Not from the boy, not from the dream. When Nwadiuto left, Anulika believed fate had righted itself. She returned to the palace not as a guest, but as a constant seated beside Obieze at council, advising during harvest debate, walking beside him in the royal garden. She told herself he would see me again, and though he never reached for her, though his gaze never lingered long, she still waited until the girl from the village returned. Anulika watched it unfold. The moment Obieze held Nwadiuto like she was his breath, his home, and it burned her from the inside. It wasn't fair. She had waited. She had molded herself for the throne, shaped herself for royalty. She had been there. She would not lose to a girl who once walked barefoot. At first, her anger was quiet, but pain has a way of growing teeth. She summoned a maid, whispered her thoughts in the shadows. She's weak, a touch of the wrong herb in her stew, just enough to keep her in bed. He will grow tired, and then he will remember me. The maid hesitated, and Anulika's voice sharpened. Do it! But when the maid failed to act, trembling from guilt, Anulika chose another path. She went to the old part of Eri, the shadowed end of the forest where the ground grew black and the trees bent with secret. There, hidden in a hut of bones and leaves, she knelt before a witch woman cloaked in clay and feathers. I want her beauty to fade, Anulika hissed. I want her body to change, make her unrecognizable. The witch smirked. Jealousy is the most expensive desire. I will pay. The woman reached for a clay mask and handed it to Anulika. Place this beneath her bed. Her face will begin to twist slowly and painfully. Anulika took it and paid the old woman. Every morning before the palace awoke, Obieze knelt before his ancestral mirror, a sacred slab of polished obsidian in the shrine of the heart of the palace. There, he communed with the spirits of kings before him. He had done so since childhood. He offered kola, poured libation, and sought guidance. That morning, as the incense rose, the mirror clouded. Then it cleared, and what he saw broke him. Anulika, kneeling before the witch, holding the cursed mask in shaking hands. Obieze gasped, no. Then he saw more, images of her speaking with the maid, offering coins, shadowing Nwadiuto's path, lingering at her window. His fist clenched, rage, deep and ancient, flooded within him. And then he stood. He found Anulika in the inner courtyard, speaking with two noblemen. His voice cut through the air like thunder. Leave us. The men fled. Anulika turned, startled. Obieze. He held up the mask. She froze. You placed this under her bed? He said. Voice low, controlled. You paid the maid to poison her? She opened her mouth, but he did not let her speak. I will be merciful to you because I respect our past, but mercy ends where malice begins. She trembled. You could have tried to win my heart with dignity. Instead, you tried to destroy hers. She stepped back. But I love you. You loved power, he sneered. You loved a crown, not me. Then his voice dropped to a whisper, deadly and precise, like the heat of a blade before it cut. If harm ever comes to Nwadiuto, if a drop of blood falls from her finger, I swear to every god, every bone beneath this palace, I will find you, even if you run to the deepest river, even if you hide in a rock, even if the earth swallows you, I will dig you with my bare hands until I drag you out. Her tears fell. I just wanted to be chosen. You were, he said, stepping back. You were choosing to be forgotten. That night, Anulika packed her things. She left the palace with no fanfare, her robes plain, her eyes hollow. She could not bear to watch Obieze wake beside another woman, could not bear to hear the sound of Nwadiuto's laughter echo through the halls that were supposed to be hers. She disappeared into the hills, and no one followed. Obieze returned to Nwadiuto that night. She was sitting by the window, brushing her hair, unaware of the storm he had just quarreled for her. He knelt behind her, took the comb from her hand and rested his head on her back. "What is it?" she asked. "Someone tried to steal you from me," he whispered. Her hand froze, but the gods are aware. "And so am I." He turned her gently to face him. "I will never let harm touch you, even if I have to face every demon in this world or the next." She cupped his face, tears gleaming. "I didn't ask to be loved like this," she said. "I didn't either, but here we are." And in the deepest part of Nwadiuto's mind, she somehow thought her and her mother's fate were somehow similar. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Please don't forget to like, comment, and share. See you on the next one. Bye.